In 1985, the Thompson twins were global titans of pop. At Live Aid, they performed for a massive worldwide audience at the absolute peak of the music industry's attention. As a trio, they were the vibrant, neon-soaked faces of the MTV generation, a group defined by high-energy synth-pop and calculated visual quirkiness. But in 1987, that momentum hit a wall. They released a track called Long Goodbye, a slow, stripped-down ballad that replaced their signature dance hooks with a sparse acoustic arrangement. The commercial response was immediate and devastating. After a career defined by top 5 hits, this new single stalled out at number 89 in the UK. Sensing a disaster, the record label tried to salvage the band's fun image. They mandated an alternate ending for the music video, where Tom Bailey playfully wiggles his fingers at the camera to force a moment of levity. Behind the scenes, the levity was a facade. Alana Curry had written the song as a literal documentary of the worst day of her life, and the recording was so traumatic that she refused to listen to the final mix. To the outside world, the Thompson twins had simply lost their touch. But inside the studio, the band was attempting to navigate a pop landscape that had no room for the specific tragedy they were trying to describe. The shift began in 1986 when Joe Leeway left the band. His departure removed the group's energetic hype man, leaving Tom Bailey and Alana Curry visually and creatively exposed as a duo. During this transition, Curry suffered a staggering double tragedy. She experienced a miscarriage and lost her mother on the exact same day. The opening line, "I have seen my future die, my whole past as well," documented the events of that afternoon. Curry was describing the simultaneous loss of her mother and her unborn child. The duo fled London, seeking refuge in an isolated house in Ireland. They surrounded themselves with religious icons and poetry, processing their grief away from the pressures of the pop charts. In this environment, the goal of their music shifted. They stopped writing for the stadium and began writing to survive, regardless of whether the results were commercially viable. This meant a total rejection of their signature production style. They moved away from the dense layering of the Fairlight CMI synthesizer, the machine that had defined their mid-80s sound. Working with producer Rupert Hine, they prioritized space and clarity. They wanted a sound that was raw and clinical, rather than polished and massive. They replaced the programmed drum machines with the restrained, human pulse of live drums. The bombastic synthesizer banks were cleared away for Jamie West Orham's shimmering guitar lines. Curry herself added an acoustic marimba track. The wooden, percussive texture provided a fragile, lullaby-like quality, a subtle reference to the child she had lost. To ground the song's spiritual themes, they added the Mint Juleps, a gospel-tinged vocal group, to the chorus. This turned the track into a hymn of eventual reunion rather than a standard pop hook. By stripping away their pop armor, they created a record where the listener has no choice but to confront the vulnerability in Bailey's vocal delivery. In 1987, the market had no context for this level of vulnerability from a synth-pop band. The industry's discomfort shows in the video's 2 endings. The label pushed for a playful wiggle. The director's intended ending featured a somber silhouette fading into white light, a visual representation of the song's theme of departure. The British music press was equally dismissive. Critics, used to the band's colorful artifice, mocked the raw tone of the record as a whiny pose, unable to see the genuine grief behind the production. The fallout was permanent. The album, Close to the Bone, bottomed out, ending the Thompson twins' imperial phase and their run of commercial dominance. However, the shift toward atmospheric, introspective soundscapes led the duo to their 90s work as Babel, a project that fully embraced the experimentalism they first touched upon here. Ultimately, Long Goodbye illustrates the high price of creative honesty. Alana Curry and Tom Bailey chose to prioritize their history over their status as pop stars, leaving behind a work that remains powerful because it refused to compromise its